Barack Obama in August of last year. Quote, "In the first 100 days of my administration, I will travel to a major Islamic forum and deliver an address to redefine our struggle. I will make clear that we will stand with those who are willing to stand up for their future and that we need their efforts to defeat the prophets of hate and violence." Close quote. What do you make of those two?
I think Barack Obama has a lot more faith in verbal interactions than I would. What he's proposing under the guise of change is what has been tried for 2 decades between the two world wars, and which failed disastrously in helping to bring on the Second World War.
Barack Obama's plan for defense spending as of last year, I'm quoting his speech, "I'll stop spending $9 billion a month in Iraq. I will cut tens of billions in wasteful spending. I will cut investments in unproven missile defense systems. I will not weaponize space. I will slow our development of future combat systems, and I will institute an independent defense priorities board to avoid unnecessary spending." Close quote.
Well, that's straight out of the 30s. There were people who were saying Britain should not. The British Labour Party in the early to mid-30s voted consistently against defense spending, and they argued that our security does not depend on armaments, but on disarmaments. And so when Chamberlain went to Munich to talk to Hitler, it wasn't just his own party, the conservatives, who applauded him when he came back. It was the Labour and liberals as well. He was probably the most lionized man among Western leaders, perhaps, of the past century.
You mentioned the, I think you would call it a naive view of world affairs, that he places a great deal of faith in rhetoric, the ability of rhetoric to solve global problems. This reminds you of the 1930s. It reminds you of Neville Chamberlain. Yeah. I read you a quotation of the notion of spreading the wealth around, and again you said that's perfectly pure socialist doctrine from the 1930s. Would you argue that this man is the most left-wing, or the purest embrace of the unconstrained vision that we've seen in American politics since when? Since the New Deal?
Since there's been American politics.
Really?
Yes. Yes. I mean, even FDR, pulled back on some things. But Obama, really, he does have the unconstrained vision, which is really an elitist vision. It says, I know what is the best to be done, and I will do it. When he says, I will change the world, you realize this is a man who has actually accomplished nothing other than advancing his career through rhetoric. And it reminds me of a sophomore in college, who thinks that he can run the world because he's never had to run anything. And you can believe that only until you have personal responsibility for consequences, and that's when it gives you a little bit of humility.
Why don't the American people see through that? Isn't that the fundamental bet that the founders made, that that voters would see through? Ultimately, they'd see through nonsense.
Yes, but that was before nonsense became a large part of the curriculum of our educational institutions. This man has been a far-left ideologue for 20 years, and not just a matter of ideology. I mean, people who are truly vile people. We're not talking about just people who have a certain theory.
Bill Ayers.
I mean, Acorn. I'm talking thuggery as the way to get your ideas across. Father Flagel. You go down the list, I judge people by what they've done, not by what they say, particularly when what they say is the direct opposite of what they've done. So that, no, I think this man really does believe that he can change the world. And people like that are infinitely more dangerous than mere crooked politicians.